Please, I can't sleep.
It's time to listen to Courtney at last on the Ramblings of an Insomniac podcast.
Hello, fellow insomniacs. Welcome to another episode of the Ramblings of an Insomniac. Hey, thanks for tuning in. I've been MIA for a bit. MIA as per the usual because life going on and things in the family that are crazy and creating chaos. So I've had to kind of try to focus on just mentally getting myself back to normal, although I don't think that's ever going to happen. I don't think any of us are going to ever be normal because I don't think there's such thing as normal. I think normal means that you have turmoil, you have depression, you have highs, you have lows, you have anxiety, you have insecurities, you have happy times, you have sad times, you have angry times, you have proud times. But, because we're humans, we experience a million emotions. And if you're hormonal because maybe you're on your period, or maybe because you're a woman, maybe because you're a teenage boy, maybe because you're taking hormones, who knows? But then that makes it worse. And each stage of our life, it just seems like there's different forms of chaos that happens, So it's all about how you manage that chaos. And I have been trying to manage my chaos. And I've been wanting to do a podcast really bad because it's like my journal. It's kind of my diary in a way. It's really helps me cope and talk things out. It's like when I can talk to others, even though people may or may not be listening, even though I'm not sitting here talking to someone face to face, I'm just kind of talking out loud. I'm speaking out loud. I'm saying things out loud. It helps me process them better. I think a lot of people are that way. And so I missed doing a podcast. I really wanted to. And I was so depressed, and I got in such a spiral of depression that I just stop. But that's part of depression. You stop doing things that make you happy. You stop doing things that make you joyful. And that's what I did. And anyway, I'm here and I want to talk about that because, again, I always say on my podcast, I like to talk about things that maybe other people are going through. Maybe somebody out there will go, God, thanks. I'm so glad. Not that I want other people to be struggling, and I don't want other people to be going through bad things at all. But if you are going through bad stuff, sometimes it's nice to know that other people are feeling the same way. And, but okay, so what has been keeping me up? As always, I'm just going to get right into it. There's no beating around the bush with me. I just kind of, hello, welcome to the Ramblings of an Insomniac, and go. And blah, 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 blah. So that's what I do. I know. That's why I need a counterpart. That's why I need somebody else to talk to slow me down, or to so I don't just delve right into things. But at the same time, sometimes I don't like listening to podcasts that just kind of have a long introduction and they don't just get to the point. It's like I tuned into your podcast because I wanted to listen to crime, or because I wanted to listen to politics, or because I wanted to listen to recipes or comedy. I don't need the, opening act. I don't need the foreplay, I just want to jump right into it. So that's what I do here. You get no foreplay with me. You're just wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. So yeah, it's been a while. As a parent, I don't know how many of you have it's weird. I guess you can't really say adult children, adult sons or daughters. Those of you that have adult sons or daughters, but they're young adults, meaning, mid 20s or 30, kind of in that area, or even, just 20s, 30s, whatever. I don't feel like people prepare you, or maybe people do prepare you and maybe we just don't listen well enough, or we don't realize that what they're saying is true. But I don't feel like you're fully prepared for what having an adult son or daughter is. It means that they get to make their own choices, good or bad. It means they have to have consequences. It means they have to be accountable. It means that just because they're your child doesn't mean that you're going to get along with them all the time. Doesn't mean you're going to like them all the time. I love my sons every single moment of every single day, but I haven't always gotten along with them. And I have a different relationship with both of them. But unfortunately, my youngest son and I are the one we've always struggled. We've struggled the most. We've struggled the hardest. And it sucks because when you give birth to a baby, you want them to be close to you. You want them to have a good relationship. You want to have a good relationship with your child. You want them to have a good relationship with their parents. And I suppose it's really naive to think that it's always going to be rosy. But I didn't expect it to be rosy. I knew there would be challenges. I knew that we would have arguments. What I didn't know is just how much you can dislike people, even when you're related to them, and even when they are your blood, and even when they are your parent or son or daughter. It's weird to be distant and be disowned from your child. It's weird to hear your child call you names, terrible names, and say horrible, unforgivable, unthinkable things. It's weird when people that love each other can say and do really mean, hurtful things. And I don't know if it's true you hurt the ones you love, but that's such a weird concept. Why would we hurt the ones we love? Because we feel closer to them enough to let our guard down, enough to be our asshole selves and know that we can say or do whatever and they're just going to stick around and love us. That's not okay. We shouldn't just stick around and love someone unconditionally. I don't believe in unconditional love because there are conditions. There are conditions. I don't want to be mentally, physically, or sexually abused by somebody. I don't want someone to mooch off of me and use me. I don't want someone to verbally or physically abuse me. I don't want someone to steal from me. I don't want someone to cheat on me. Those aren't unconditional things. We shouldn't have unconditional love. I don't believe in that. There should be things that have conditions, that have boundaries. It's healthy to have boundaries and conditions. And because someone is related to you doesn't mean that they're allowed to abuse you. Doesn't mean they're allowed to steal from you. It doesn't mean they're allowed to treat you like crap. And unfortunately, sometimes a toxic person in your relationship is your own family member. And that's horrible. And it makes it incredibly, incredibly difficult. It makes it very hard. Sorry, I'm outside. My cat Hazel. Hi, Hazel. That's Hazel. It's always Ragu, Hazel, ZD. Usually they're the ones. Come here, Teeny. Here you go, Hazy. She wants her food. Here you go. She's the one that goes away and then comes back and goes away and comes back for different periods of time. Sometimes it's a day, sometimes it's months. Just depends. And then she saunters back up and she's like, hello, love me. Anyway, I digress. But yeah, being a parent has so many joys. And I love my family and care about my family very much. But sometimes I don't like the things that they do or say. And sometimes there is such things as needing to step away for a while, to take a break, even if it's your own child. And it's sad when you see someone throw their lives away and you not be able to help them. You know, recently, a friend of mine passed away, but before she passed away, she thought the same way I did, and it turns out we were both wrong. She thought that the best way to love your child is to love them so much that they don't want or need for anything. They don't have to do anything. They can just, you can shelter them. You can shelter them. You can do everything for them and have them not have to be scared or nervous or try or lift a finger because you want to do it all for them. And, we can get into the whole psyche of why I did that. I didn't do that with my oldest son. With my oldest son, I was more like, no, I want you to be successful, and I want you to be able to be independent and care for yourself. And I believe in you. I trust you. I know that you're smart. I believe in you. I'm confident in you. So I'm going to allow you to make mistakes because I'm confident that you can learn from those mistakes and get back up and try again and learn and do better. And I don't know if it's because I didn't have the same confidence in my other son. I don't know if it's because he was my youngest and I didn't want him to have to, he was my baby. I don't know if it's because he's just always seemed like he hated me. He's always, since the day he was born, that child has screamed and cried and has been unhappy. He's been unhappy since birth. He had colic, always crying, never happy, no matter who he was with, no matter who he was around. And he still isn't. And he blames and he has no accountability and he makes excuses and he blames everybody else for his shortcomings and he doesn't apologize for things. And he says very, very terribly abusive things to people. But I know that half the time he doesn't mean them because I know he's extraordinarily insecure. I know that he has depression. I know that he's bipolar. And I know that he was diagnosed with autism by several doctors. And so I sat there and made excuses for him because I'm like, well, he just says that because he's sad. He just says that because he's insecure. He says that because he's projecting because he's insecure and sad. He doesn't mean it. But just because someone doesn't mean something doesn't mean it's okay for them to say it. Just because someone doesn't mean to hurt you doesn't mean it's okay for them to hurt you. But when, someone says and does something over and over and over, it's not an accident anymore. It's no longer an accident. There are no more excuses. You don't get to blame other people for your shortcomings. You don't get to point fingers at others because you punched a wall because they supposedly made you angry. You allowed them to make you angry. You allowed them to get to you. You allowed them to get into your brain and have that control. Don't allow it. Now, let me tell you, sometimes that is extraordinarily difficult, especially when you are around somebody like one of my sons, my youngest. He just is relentless, and it is very hard to turn the other cheek. It is very hard to bite your tongue. But I also have a temper, unfortunately. My whole family has a temper. My whole family hasn't learned to sometimes less is more. Sometimes not saying everything that comes out of your mouth is better than saying everything that comes out of your mouth. Sometimes you get more flies with honey, and sometimes the best thing you can do is be quiet. And we all have tempers. And unfortunately, it's throughout my family. And we all have addiction issues, different addiction issues. We don't all have the same. So when you have addicts with tempers and people that are insecure and depressed, and you combine that with the economy, with the government, with this administration, with all of the hate and blame that is going on in the world, with it now being okay, and young people and people being told that being a victim is good, being a victim is okay, pointing fingers and making excuses, not having accountability is okay, being entitled is okay. How are you supposed to be around children like that or adults like that? How are we supposed to live in a world where COVID took my mom and people had to die scared and alone? People didn't get to say goodbye to their loved ones. People that were dying had to die alone and scared. And our government took that from us. Our government did that. So there is a lot of bullshit going on, but that doesn't give us an excuse to riot and destroy people's property and set things on fire and blame others and punch things and yell at people and call people names. It gives us a right to be angry. It gives us a right to be sad, depressed, lost, hurt, whatever. Our feelings are valid. But just because your feelings are valid, or just because you say something you don't mean it, you said it out of anger, doesn't mean it's okay. And just because our feelings are valid doesn't mean that we get to hurt others because we're angry. And that is what I have been dealing a lot with lately. Being hurt by people that are angry. And I'm sure I've done the same thing. I don't think that I am a flawless person. I am a jagged, rough around the edges, riddled with anxiety, just a hot mess. So by no means do I think that I am, that I'm not part of the problem. I'm certainly part of this issue. I don't feel that I'm Mother of the Year. God knows I've tried so hard that it was too much. And that's what I was going to say. I had a friend whose best intentions, she had the best intentions with her son. And of course it was her youngest, or no, it wasn't her youngest, it was her middle son. But he became a drug addict, a very severe one, was living on the streets. And she tried to help him so much. And we sometimes forget that the best help you can do, the best help you can give is to do nothing, is to allow people to fail, to allow people to fall, even if it's your child, even though that is the worst pain, even when it tears you apart, rips out your heart. You never, ever want your own child or family member to struggle or to be at rock bottom. You don't want to see them in that position and to be out of control. And then you feel out of control because you are out of control. There's nothing you can do. I'm not saying to give up on your kids. I'm not saying to not help your kids. I'm saying sometimes there's only so much help you can give. There's only certain types of help you can give. And once you've tried those things over and over, sometimes the best thing you can do is to do nothing. And I forget that. And I unfortunately did way too much for my youngest. And it shows because now he is a narcissistic, entitled brat who is very abusive to his family and blames everybody for everything. And the funny thing is, he doesn't have a bad life. He grew up with a great life. He's traveled to many countries. He's had a family that, although he comes from a divorced home, we got divorced when he was 5 months old. You can't tell me you remember that. And all he's ever known is his parents to be at every function together. We've always celebrated functions together as a family. Even though their dad and I were divorced, we went to all their Christmas programs and sports, conferences, all that together. We even celebrated holidays together. We even hung out together as family. Yeah, we had our fights. Yes, we have yelled. Unfortunately, we have all yelled. And those are things that I regret. But aside from coming from divorced parents who have yelled a lot, the kid has had a cush life. I mean, you're in America, how bad of a life you can have, even if you're homeless. I've said this before. I don't care if you're a homeless person. You have a better life as a homeless person in America than you do in most countries as a working class citizen. Being homeless in America is better than being a working class person in most other countries. I mean, being illegal here is the best thing you can be. Sorry, having coffee. And then I say I have insomnia, but coffee calms me down. Doesn't make me stay awake like most. I have ADD, so it does the opposite genuinely. Anyway, I have been out of the game for a while because I have been pretty depressed. It really eats away at a person, at a parent, when you don't get along with your own son. My other son and I have gone through our ups and downs, but we've always had a good understanding. We've always had a bond, and we've always apologized to each other, and we've always tried to work on things. We have definitely struggled. I don't think he is perfect at all. I don't think I'm perfect at all. And I don't think I've been a perfect mom to him, and I don't think he's been a perfect son or brother. But he's trying his very best, and now he has really gotten his act together, and he does nothing but want to do what's best for himself and others. And he doesn't hurt. Unfortunately, when he's gotten in trouble, it's hurt himself, not others. And he gets in his own way. He doesn't get in other people's way. He doesn't hurt others. He's not a mean person at all. In fact, he tries his best to do right by others. He has the biggest heart, and he's become the most amazing father, the most amazing stepfather. And I'm just so proud of every time he learns from his mistakes. And it's not that I have favorites at all. I've said this before. I think parents, no matter what they say, I don't think they have favorites, but they have different bonds and different relationships with each kid. I mean, this has been said on many shows, and it's true. I'm not the first person to say this. Everybody knows this. You have different relationship with your kids. Some are stronger than others. And that sucks. It sucks if sometimes you get along better with one child than another. It sucks if you have a stronger relationship or more in common with one than the other. It just means we have to work harder. It means we have to work. And I think that's what we forget as a society, is that we don't give up. It means we have to work harder. It means we have to, definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again. Definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Well, you can't expect different results if what you're doing is just giving up. Giving up clearly doesn't work. And sometimes after you've tried and truly both people or all parties that are involved, when all parties involved have actually truly put in effort and time and energy, and it still isn't working, and you've exhausted all things, then yeah, sometimes you do just need to call it quits or take a break or separate or whatever. Like I said, I don't believe in unconditional. I think there are conditions. I will always love my children no matter what, but I have boundaries and I have conditions, things that I will and will not tolerate. Doesn't mean that I won't love them. It just means I'm going to have to love them from a distance and not have that person around anymore. And that decision is horrible. And it's not something any parent or child or family member should have to make. On a different note, one thing I've never understood, why is it people always we always show each other pictures of our vacations, or like where we used to live when we were a kid, or where we used to go to high school, or where we used to work. And that's super nostalgic for us, the people that used to live there, or the people who are in the pictures and know the people in the pictures. But am I the only one that when people are doing that, I'm like, I don't fucking care. I don't know these people. This is your memory. I'm not attached to this memory. I'm not attached to this apartment you're showing me. I'm not attached to this neighborhood. I mean, that's horrible to say, but we're all thinking it. We're all thinking it. When people show pictures of their vacation, you're happy for those people. Of course, I'm happy for my friends who go on vacations. And I'm like, woo, I'm super happy, for real. I'm not saying that sarcastic. I'm happy. And I like seeing the pictures, as in I like seeing them have fun and seeing where they've gone, especially if it's a country or place I haven't been to, then I can kind of live through them, and that's fun. But if you're showing me pictures of like your family members, just like your memories when you were a kid, or places that you used to live, that's not fun for people. It's only fun for the people that are involved in that memory. I'm just here to tell you, we all need to stop reliving our glory days with people that weren't part of that memory, because we don't care. It doesn't mean anything to us. It's just wasting time. Again, happy for you, nostalgic for you, super want you to be able to enjoy that place that you used to live and that place that you grew up. That is very, very meaningful for you. But I do the same thing. I show people pictures and they're like, why are you showing me these pictures? I'm saying this about myself too. I don't know why I point out places I used to live or go to school to people that really don't care. It doesn't mean anything to them. It's just a side note. Anyway, also a side note, I saw a commercial for Spenfria, some freaking Spenfira. It's a nasal thing that you spray, and it's supposed to be for basically when, gosh, I had the commercial memorized, but it's basically with their whole gist is it's like Tremfia, but like Spremfia. And it's supposed to be this for people who have tried everything and it's non-treatment related disorder or something like that, where they're saying that you've tried everything and no other treatment has worked. So try this because this treatment will work. You've exhausted all other treatments there are. So that means you need to try this treatment and this treatment will work. And this treatment is supposed to be, by the way, for depression and anxiety. But yet their biggest side effect is being suicidal and saying that it may not treat depression or anxiety and that depression and anxiety may get worse. So let me get this straight. It's a spray that you take. Gosh, I wrote it down so that I could remember, but it's a spray that you take when you've tried every other treatment. Like they flat out say that when you've exhausted all other treatments, try this one because this treatment will work. And it's for depression and anxiety, yet it can cause suicidal thoughts and may not treat depression or anxiety. And of course, it lists about 10,000 very, very serious side effects. And then it says, oh, by the way, don't take this if you're allergic to this. Well, the only way you're going to know you're allergic to it is if you take it. So what a dumb thing to say. We all know these companies are just ridiculous. Anyway, that was the other thing keeping me up at night is pharmacies and how they can have a conscience, how you can sleep at night. I'm sure they sleep at night because they're sleeping on a yacht or because they're sleeping in one of their many houses that they have in different countries, and they're sleeping on Egyptian cotton. So I'm sure they sleep very well because they're sleeping in comfy houses and comfy beds in different areas of the world, hooping it up because they don't have a conscience and they don't care that they're feeding people poison. We all know that there's a cure for cancer. You can't tell me after all this time, we came up with a cure. I mean, with it's not a vaccination. I forgot what it's called when it's not a vaccination. It's just something that helps prevent you from getting less sick. It doesn't prevent you from getting COVID. It prevents you from getting worse symptoms, like bad symptoms. It helps your symptoms be lessened if you take it. Well, we all know that they come up with this thing for COVID in just a couple of months, but you can't tell me with all the billions and billions and billions of dollars we've poured into cancer that there hasn't been one cure for any type of cancer. Bullshit. Natural path. There are plants out there that I will guarantee you would cure cancer. Supposedly Canada, and I think it's like Germany or something like that, has actually come up with a cure for cancer and has been trying to tell America and pharmacies this, but they're like, shh, no, we make a lot more money killing people off. We make a lot more money killing people than we would with the cure. Now, a lot of people say, well, no, because if they come up with the cure, they can just charge an arm and a leg, and then it'll basically be, if you're rich, you will be able to afford it. And if you're not rich, you'll just die of cancer. And so therefore, they'll make a boatload of money because they'll just charge a lot for the cure. But no, I think they'd make a lot more over a long time because right now they can bleed poor people, middle-class people, and rich people. They can bleed no matter how much you make, no matter how little, or if you make a lot of money, they can just bleed people from all different classes dry. Whereas if you make a cure, you can only bleed the rich dry. So of course, pharmacies, I have a book that talks about how you can put MS in remission. One of my friends chose not to do chemotherapy and did not do radiation. They told her she would die. She had kidney cancer. She chose to change her entire eating habits and start exercising and doing yoga and meditating. And slowly but surely, her cancer in her kidney, her tumor, was less and less and less. And instead of swelling and killing her, it did the opposite. And they kept trying to force feed radiation down her throat. And she chose to completely change her eating habits and her lifestyle and shrunk that puppy down to where she has been in remission and has been fine for, 20 years now. But they're not going to tell you that. They're not going to tell you that you can go out in your own backyard or someone else's backyard or to another country and grab some exotic plant that can help you. I fully believe that everything on this earth has a reason, has a purpose. Maybe it's a very, very insignificant purpose. Maybe it's food for a frog, which to a frog, that's not insignificant. To a frog, that fly is not insignificant at all. That purpose is huge. Feeding them is huge. To us, it seems insignificant. Flies are very important to a lot of animals that eat the fly. But everything on this earth, I think, has a reason, has a purpose, and we may not know what that reason or purpose is, but it's all here. It certainly isn't supposed to be so we can destroy each other, put each other down, try to kill each other off by pharmacies and big corporations trying to kill us off by who has enough money. And it certainly isn't so that we can all get on social media and act a fool and make a ton of money or put each other down. At least I hope that's not what we're on this earth for. I hope we have a greater purpose than just pissing each other off and hurting each other and judging each other and working our asses off until we die. I hope that our purpose is to help one another, to educate each other, to learn from one another, to grow, to love, to have fun, to laugh, to love, to find our soulmate. Not soulmate. I hate that word. That term. I don't like that term. I don't think we have a soulmate. I think there's a bajillion people in the world. You can't tell me only one of them is meant for you. I think many people are meant for you. Not everybody is meant for you, but there's a lot of good fits. Anyway, I've been struggling again. It's like you guys get me the highs and lows, the highs and lows. 1 minute I'm talking about politics. 1 minute I'm just rambling on about literally nothing, just all different things to try to keep a podcast going. Next minute, I'm sharing details about my life. And again, that's kind of why I do this podcast, is to let you know the things that are going on in my life. Sometimes it's politics. Sometimes I'm sad about stuff. Sometimes I'm talking about just enjoying life. Sometimes I'm talking about my animals. It's just, like I said, it's like my journal. And I appreciate so much everybody out there that's been tuning in and listening to my nonsense, to my incessant rambling. I'm just really, really hoping that other people, can go, yeah, I've been there. I mean, again, I don't want people to be there and understand as in, to sympathize. I don't want them to have been through what I'm going through. But I also, if you are, I want you to know other people are out there. There's a lot I don't talk about. There's a lot I haven't talked about. There's a lot that's not necessarily for the public. There's a lot of stuff I've gone through that I would love to share with everybody, because I really, really want people to have somebody there who's gone through the stuff I have, but I don't know that it's appropriate for me to talk about it. I don't know if I should be talking about it. I feel weird. I don't want to be like Jada Pickett, where she just literally talks about every single thing and has no filter and no boundaries whatsoever. But I also want to do exactly what I said, which is be, not edit, and to tell everybody exactly what's keeping me up and what's on my mind. And sometimes it sounds like crazy nonsense, crazy jargon. And sometimes I'm being too depressing, and sometimes I talk too fast, and sometimes my animals are in the background, and I don't know, but there's a lot to talk about and there's a lot I want to share, but we'll get into that later, right? For right now, I just appreciate everybody that's been tuning in and everybody that's been giving me a chance. I appreciate everybody that's, like I always say, because I mean it, I appreciate everybody out there that gets out of bed no matter how tired and stressed and depressed and angry or whatever they are. They still try their best to be a respectful, kind human. They're still putting one foot in front of the other. They're still dragging their butts out of bed and going to work and trying to put on a smile. And for those of you that can't always do that, that sometimes allow the depression or the anger or the fear or the insecurity to take over, that's okay too. I've always said that's okay. It's just you can't live in it and you can't make that as an excuse to treat others bad. It's okay to be angry and pissed, and it's okay to sometimes snap at others, and it's okay to have a bad day, of course. But we can't give that as an excuse. We need to stop blaming. We need to stop pointing fingers. We need to point them at ourselves and figure out how to better cope. We need to figure out how to cope. We need to figure out how to make things happen. If we want something, we need to get it. We need to earn it. We need to stop hating others for having what we don't. That's just projecting. And that's gross. That's icky. It's icky to be coveting others, to be jealous and wanting others to be deprived of happiness because we're too scared to go out and get it ourselves. That's gross. Anyway, if you're a parent, you're struggling with your sons and or daughters, I just want you to know, sorry, my phone rang. I just want you to know I'm struggling too, and I'm sorry, and I wish I had words of wisdom, and I don't, and I'm sorry. Just try to communicate and try. And again, there is such thing as you don't have to have unconditional love. You have to have boundaries. Just remember boundaries. All right. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Ramblings of an Insomniac. I appreciate you all, and I'm wishing you the best week ever. Thank you. Keep on keeping on.